Hi, dropping strands now with the Sidekick project. 5-foot bullwhip with a plaited Dyneema fall. As you see, it's going okay. Plaiting's pretty straight. Summary thus far. Starting off as I did for the belly, on the floor, under one, over one, until they're all set up, and bring them under, over, and so on. And coming out into the 4-seam work, unlike the 8 plait, which is divisible by 8, and the 12 isn't, I went under, over, over, under, over. So just repeat it on the same side, and then that's the next stage. So it gives 1s, then 3s. Okay, dropping strands. Pitch is pretty good all the way down, and now it's starting to get a little bit tight. So I've got the option of 2 strands on either side, which are shorter than the 8, which are going to continue right to the end. Of these, there's not an awful lot to choose between them. I will have to drop a pair probably down here. So the leather down here might be significant. There's not much to choose between them really. But up at the top, this one's a little narrower. And so is... No, there's none to choose between them. I'm dropping this one. Okay. Sometimes it's a good idea to plait further down than you need. I was pondering dropping up here, but I thought, it looks a little early, and then the plaiting opened up a little bit more, and I continued to down here, and it's now looking about right because it's a steep section coming up, and that hasn't been getting any more open for the past few inches, and it looks about time to drop from experience anyway. If in doubt, carry on until it's really too tight and then come back up, and they'll all be nicely tensioned anyway, so you haven't lost anything. But if you do trim if you do drop a couple of strands early, then you might be wishing you hadn't later on. Okay, it's best to make sure. So this is the strand to be dropped first. Oh yeah, okay, these are opposite each other, these 2 strands. So the effect is a bit like when adding the strands to the main project 7-foot bullwhip. But sometimes you might find that they're not opposite each other. The one strand to be dropped might be this one, and the other one might be down here, for example. So you'll continue a few stitches with more on one side than on the other. The plus side of that is that there's a little bump here and there's a little bump down here, but there isn't a big bump, or aren't 2 little bumps next to each other. On the other hand, if there's more material down one side than there is down the other, there is going to be a little twist perhaps, and you're going to have to fight against that. How neatly can you do it? That's the real question. Anyway, what I am doing is hacking a lump off this one. So that's in plaited into place. Mark with fingernail where it disappears into plaiting. I haven't seen how other people do this. I've only read, so I mean this is how I do it. Peg that now. Notice the bevel is on the other side. I mean, some people will bevel like this. I think that was a method shown in David Morgan's book, and one of my mates over in Sweden does it that way. But I've never managed to do it like that. I always come down the other side. Now these were done all right-handed, but the bevel crosses over at the top, so all the bevels are pointing up. I'm going to have to do this one left-handed, and I'm not that good left-handed, to be perfectly honest. So I'm wanting to thin down, so I'm putting like a second bevel and then join the first one and taking some of the width off, like that. And around the other side, and take more off. Now I don't have a little protector leather on my finger for this, I'm not doing large amounts of it, and I really want to be up against the leather and feel what's going on. Because it's one thing to skive away at a strand when you've just cut it and the leather's right there and you can cut another one, and it's another thing to cut it off too early on the whip and have to go back and splice in and everything. Now down beyond that fingernail mark where it disappears into the plaiting, it doesn't much matter which side I skive on because it's not going to be visible. And in fact, when it sits against the inside plaiting, there not being any bolster to skive away or whatever else, I want to make as small a bump as possible, and it might be better to skive off both of the top sides so it does that. So just from where the fingernail mark is, there you go. Let's tidy that little bit up there. One thing I don't want is for it to get thicker, bulkier at any point. From here on it only gets skinnier. Now I'll trim some more off this a little bit later. I want to probably have 6 inches or so in the core. Or in fact, I might just do it all right now. Now the next drop is going to be rather later down than it would be on a 16 strander or 20 strander or whatever, so I can make these a little bit longer if I wish. They will provide a little kind of ruck in the whip though, no matter how finely they go. I don't want to go too fine, I want some strength there. Okay, so, yeah, right, are we aligned? We are. So, under 3 over 3, and I'm going to offset these a smidge. Okay, I could put this one in, like that, and cut that off the same as I did its mate there, but that one is a little skinnier at this point, and this one's just a smidge thicker, so I'm going to use this one. And also there's something else to show you. So, you're in, doing good. So, dropping this fella. Nice and tight. And this one's a doddle because he's a right-hand skive. Or right-hand bevel, chamfer, pear, take your pick. When adding or dropping strands, the smaller percentage, well, the further up towards the blunt end you are, the smaller percentage of the total it is. This is 1/6 being dropped, and down here it's going to be 1/5. So it's more likely to be neater up at the top end than it is down there. Also, the angle isn't going to change as much for the same reason. It's a smaller percentage drop. So this section of 12 plait is probably going to be longer. Well, it's obviously going to be longer than the section of 10 and 8, probably combined. Where am I? What am I up to? Who am I and why? There we go, here. Now this piece of leather, at this point, went across the butt of the skin and is really quite chunky. It's windy out there, it's been chucking down. This tent's been jet washed. It's probably a good thing, it's getting a bit grubby. So off to Spain next week. So I've been foodling and fettling and making sure I've got what I want and don't have what I don't want. Back to base, get the stove, fiddle about. Brand new flange, look. Maybe a little off the width. And bevel well. I'm nattering to you lot and kind of just not really concentrating enough. There we go. Righty ho. It doesn't matter that these were pulled rein tight, as you'd hold a rein rather than windy round tight, because I don't want them pulling out anyway. I want to have a little bit of give. Don't want them to be slack or anything, you know, I want them to be tight, but not as tight perhaps as the others. And the longish tail will give the opportunity for it to slide. Here we are. God, I'm not concentrating, am I? So undo this again. yeah, rabbit. Okay, right, look. We've got 3 there, and we've got 1 there, and there's 2. So unwind again, right, okay. Now it's your turn to go, isn't it? Okay, so I've got my strand end there, put him in, fold him into the core, wind him around out the way. And the next strand, get in there please, the next strand goes under 3 over 2. This one isn't ready to come out yet, so it's under 3 over 3. Under 3 over 2. Now I don't really want to go under 3 over 2 on this side as well, do I? Because it'll be uneven. Under 3 over 2 on the right. Oh, isn't it exciting? All this plaiting. God. Right, here we are, and it's going to be under 2 over 3. And as with adding strands, when I tuck that tail in that side, I'm going to get a double strand. In other words, this one is laying right next to the other one, above it, there. So that will be your little anomaly at this point, if you want to hunt around for where a strand has been dropped, and it's a really neat job. It goes there. So I'll just tuck these little ends out of the way. Over 2. I don't want them to cross over, because that'll be a bumpy kind of an affair. Okay, right. I'm now down to where that first strand dropped in. This fella here. And now give him a longish but not too hard pull. Not least because I'm pulling on less leather. Right. Now, because I'm not dropping these at the same time, although that is the next working strand to go over these 3, I've just pulled one on the right hand side, so ideally I want to tension this one here on the left that goes over the first strand to be dropped, but not tuck him in place. That's another reason why I wanted to show you this way, because that's what happens when the strands are not dropped at the same place. Now I can tension this fella. Put him in. And there you get a little gap there. How little a gap depends on how much you've taken away from the leather that you've just dropped. I don't want to take away too much from the strand that's being dropped. I don't want to weaken it unduly, but I don't want it to be too bulky either. So there will always be a smidgen of a gap there, but as little as I can get away with. And here on the left is a strand that I tensioned before doing the last one, so he's not going to need nearly as much. And into place. And because I offset the strands, I now have the second one to tension before this one on the right hand side, and that'll bring it back to the normal sequence of things. So give a wee pull on the second strand to be dropped. That's him here. Nice. When I'm laying in these ends, I like to do so at 90 degrees so they don't reinforce each other. If they were opposite each other, like that, they'd make the thong oval at that point and induce a strong bias there, at least a strong direction to it. If they were right next to each other, same sort of thing, but if they're spread out at 90 degrees, then that seems to spread out the effect that they have. Right. Now, one on the right, and 2/3. Unlike adding strands, I don't have to worry about the tensions from now on, because it's all in these 2 little ones at the end where the difference lies. Okay. Few more stitches, and that will be that. Now also at this point you can have a little look at the whip and have a little ponder about it and go, do I need to have more leather here or more leather here? This is what you do when you're cutting off. What I'm going to do is, where's the first drop? Here. There's the second strand. No, I think I got these right first time round. I'm going to take a little bit more off. Because now that they're seated and settled and sorted, I can thin them down a bit more. Okay, how are you? Are you nice? Yes, you are. Jolly good. This one, somewhat chunky. Have more of the flesh side. There we go. These are staggered enough. Right. And now all I need to do is carry on plaiting under 2/3 on one side and under 3/2 on the other side until I get to the point where I'm dropping the other pair of strands, and then it'll revert to, or not revert, it'll proceed to under 2/2. You'll still get this double strand here. That happens every time you drop a strand, but I won't have to worry about under 2/3, under 3/2 or whatever else like that. There you go, that's dropping strands. Ciao.